Parents, it is extremely crucial that you have something that you can do with your children. Hello, Catholic Controversy here. And what am I talking about? I am talking about that one special activity that you do with your children. That one thing that your children look forward to doing with you on a regular basis. This could be anything. It could be big and elaborate, like the week-long hunting trip that you spend months preparing for, or the spa getaway weekend that you do 3 or 4 times a year, or even something simple like cooking together, or playing basketball out in the driveway, or playing video games together, or watching your favorite sports team, and once or twice a season actually going to one of the games in person. It's important that you have just anything that you can bond over and continue to do all the way up to when they're an adult and beyond. Because when they're an adult, that's all you're going to have. That's all that's going to be left. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're a parent and being a good parent, not trying to just be their friend, you actually be the parents, you're making sure that they're eating right and that they're going to school and that they're doing the extracurricular activities and that they're being a good person and learning right from wrong and not getting into trouble and all that really good things that children need. That they need to know the boundaries, they need to know the limits, they need to have a guiding force in their life in order to help them grow up to be well-rounded adults. But at the same time, you also need to be their friend just a little bit. You need to have something where you can bond over and just be friends and just be together and hang out and grow closer together as just human beings. Because once they're an adult, they don't need the active parenting anymore. When your child grows up, they're not going to need you to make sure that they're not getting into trouble with their friends, that their friends are good influences, that they aren't going to unsupervised house parties, and that they're doing well in school and at their job, and all sorts of just things that children need when they're children, but don't need when they're an adult. And that's something that I came to the really harsh realization that that's something that was lacking for me. I never really had that thing that I did with my parents. Don't get me wrong, my parents did a really good job at being parents. They took me to my Boy Scout meetings. They made sure that I was doing well in school. They made sure that I was eating right and being healthy and that I wasn't falling behind in my classes and that I made it to the band concerts and the school plays that I was part of. And they were there for those activities. And here's the thing though, they were only there. They weren't active participants. My parents don't know anything about reading or playing music. They sort of sing in church, but that's kind of it. My parents never participated in karate with me. They occasionally went on campouts and like Cub Scouts, but even then, like afterwards, they just my mom especially, she just complained about it afterwards. It's not like she's like super high maintenance. It's just that she didn't like camping. So yeah, it's I didn't really have those sort of things. We never played video games. We never really played basketball out on the driveway. We never watched sports together. We never watched TV together. And then I grew up. I went to college and it's pretty hard on my mom because it was like I wasn't talking to her at all. I wasn't calling her every day. She wasn't hearing about my day. She wasn't hearing what I was up to. She wasn't hearing about how I was doing in school, except for like once on the weekend when we just agreed to Skype for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And even that was a little difficult because it's like I didn't have anything to talk to them about. They didn't watch anime. They didn't know anime. They don't know Pokemon. They know who some of the characters are. They're not complete idiots about it, but they don't know any of the rules of Pokemon. They don't know about the trading card game or the how to play the video game or any of that. They just know that was something that I liked. They don't know anything about amiibos. They just know that I like amiibos and that I like video games. And here's kind of the thing, though, is that's like I had the realization just this weekend that the reason that I'm distant from my family is that we didn't have any of those bonding experiences. We never went bowling together. We never really did things as family on a regular basis, at least. I mean, we had like some Christmas traditions and Easter traditions that we do once a year and make pretzels, dip pretzels and cookies and chocolate and decorate the tree and such. But those were pretty simple things that we only did once or twice a year. We'd go on vacations, but a lot of the times we just sort of did our own thing once we got older. And when we were little, it was like our parents would just sort of take us to places and go along with it, but it wasn't like they were really actively participating. And that's the thing, is that's like, now what do I do? How do we interact with each other? I mean, we're no longer adult and child, we're adult and adults. We are on the same levels, basically. And it's like, what do we do now? It's not like we play video games together. It's not like we can talk about that. It's not like we go to movies or anything like that. So it's like, and I went through pretty tough times recently. Just, it was a pretty hard realization. Right now, I'm working on trying to figure out something that we can do together. It's kind of hard. It's like, I don't know what my parents like to do. They didn't really do much of anything when I was a child. They took me places and worked. So it's like, what can we do? I'd say let's go to movies and I'd talk about movies and whatnot, but they'd just be like, oh, that's nice, dear. Didn't really have a thing. In high school, for like 2 months, my mom and I, and my brother would watch Wife Swap together and Super Nanny, and that was our thing for a good half year or so. But then she kind of stopped watching Super Nanny. She's like, oh, I've got other more important things that I got to deal with. And that kind of ended. And we didn't really have anything to do together anymore. It's difficult. I remember in high school, my friend would constantly complain about how he'd have to kick his dad off of the video games because he'd want to play video games now. And I'm just like, I wish my parents played video games with me. Working to get better through this now, but learn from my mistakes. Learn from the mistakes of my parents. Have something that you do with your children. It doesn't have to be something that you don't have to like all the things that your children like, but you got at least like one thing. And it's something that you got to be an active participant in. Because once they're an adult and they don't need you to be their parent anymore, the only thing left to do is to be their friend. This has been Catholic Controversy signing off. May God bless you.